Less than 24 hours ago, Jamel Miller said Trump was a white supremacist, and that blew up all over the media. And today, there's an article out that actually came out in August on Twitter. Trump accuses blacks of racism 3 times as often as white. So Trump went out on Twitter and made the accusation that black people are more racist than whites. This is just the same rhetoric that you hear from your average white supremacist. Black people cannot be racist because we do not have the economic power to stop white people from doing anything. But let's get into this story. Two days after a woman was killed in Charlottesville amid clashes between white nationalists and counter protesters, Trump on August 14th condemned racist groups such as KKK, saying has no place in America. And we know every time Trump does the scripted speech, he comes out the next day and be himself, and is always the opposite of what he said. He's notorious for that. During a White House speech, Trump denounced racism as evil after facing 2 days of bipartisanship, criticism for declining to specifically condemn Nazis and white supremacists after a violent rally. After a non-specific response Saturday in which the president decried the violence exhibited on many sides. He addressed the problem head on Monday. Racism is evil, he said, and those who cause racism, violence in the name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to all that we hold dear as Americans, which is fake. Trump's initial hesitancy to call out white racism did not go unnoticed, and it has similarities with a long-standing trend on Trump's Twitter account. In his 8 years on Twitter, he has been far more likely to accuse African Americans of racism than white people. This is proof, ladies and gentlemen, Trump is a hardcore racist. Trump has used the word racist or racism at least 56 times on Twitter, according to the Trump Twitter Archive, a website that tracks and archives all the president's tweets. In 2/3 of those tweets, Trump levied accusations of racism at individuals or groups of people, and those accusations followed a very clear pattern. Trump has directed accusations of racism towards black people 3 times as often as he has done so against whites. Most of Trump's allegations of racism have been directed against 2 people. One of them is former MSNBC host Torre, whom he accused of being a racist no fewer than 10 times in a course of a feud lasting from October 2012 to September 2013, below a characteristic tweet. Not only is Torre a racist and boring, he's a real dumb guy. That feud was inevitably sparked in part by comments Torre made on Twitter about Trump's bankruptcies. Similarly, in August of 2013, Trump sent 6 tweets accusing HBO Real Sports host Brian Gumbel of being a racist. As with Torre, Trump characterized Gumbel as a dope and dumb. So he always describes black people as dumb. But Trump, I haven't seen no display of a president dumber than you. Just saying. The accusations may have linked to comments Gumbel made about Trump's golf courses. And here's the actual tweet. Uh, in the tweet, Trump says, in that at Time Warner's has HBO with really dumb racist Brian Gumbel, and I mean dumb, and no CBS, which fired Brian. I am switching buildings. So I guess Brian Gumbel said something about his golf courses that he didn't like. Trump has also tweeted out accusations of racism. Also, a talk show host Tavis Smiley, a hater and racist, and former President Barack Obama, a total racist. So he said President Obama was a total racist, and so is Tavis Smiley. In 2012, noting strong African American support for Obama, Trump asked, is that racism? Trump called the film Django Unchained, about a freed slave, the most racist movie I have ever seen. He characterized the title of the sitcom Blackish, about an upper middle class black family, as racism at highest level. So Trump is all over Twitter screaming about black people being racist. That's what this is showing. But let me go on. Conversely, Trump has sent a total of 70 tweets accusing white individuals of racism. They included Hillary Clinton needs to address the racist undertones of her 2008 campaign, Elizabeth Warren, very racist, and David Letterman must apologize for his racist comments. Trump also used the word racist and racism in a number of tweets that discuss the concept but don't necessarily accuse anyone of racism. For instance, here's the actual tweet from Trump. If you voted for Obama in 2008 to prove you were not a racist, then voted for Romney in 2012 to prove you are not stupid. Thanks, Walter D. Half of those 18 tweets, however, contain an explicit and implicit denial that Trump himself is racist. Don King, oh my goodness, and so many other African Americans who know me well and endorse me would not have done so if they thought I was a racist. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. Some of our coons are so far gone, they would endorse a racist. They come on YouTube defending them. So, yes, they would. Trump said in June of 2016 a number of tweets thank specific individuals such as Al Sharpton, Letterman, and former CNBC Donnie Deutsch for apologizing for calling Trump racist. Trump's deployment of the race card primarily against Black Americans may seem odd. African Americans have been borne the brunt of American racism for centuries, from slavery through Jim Crow and segregation into modern day prejudices that are less explicit but no less corrosive. Racism has never lessened in America. I disagree with that. But Trump's use of words like racist and racism is perhaps best understood in the context of a modern conservative movement that has come to believe against all evidence that whites face more discrimination than blacks. And Trump's not a racist, huh? Okay, so he's saying whites face more discrimination in America than black people do by using racial language primarily as a cudgel against his non white critics. Trump has given validation to that belief. So he believes whites are discriminated against more than blacks. Sounds like racist. It sounds like a racist to me. I mean, what's the difference between Trump and any other white supremacist with that view? Isn't it interesting that anyone who attacks President Obama is considered a racist by the real racists out there? Trump remarked in 2013. Trump didn't specify who the real racists are. You know, I knew from Trump's New York days that this man, he reeks of racism. And this go to show you, it shows you right here how many times he called black people racist, as you can see right here in this illustration, and how many times he tweeted racist allegations against white people. Jamel Miller, far as I'm concerned, is a hero for bringing out what many of us already knew about Trump. There is no need for you to apologize to anybody for telling the truth. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to my channel, please do. And please donate to the Hurricane Fund. It's still not enough in there to really help too many people down in Florida. So if you can make a contribution, please do. Peace, family.